Why does an enlightened master's life look no different from you and I? Let's find out what the greatest spiritual story ever told has to say about this. A lot of people ask many questions about an enlightened master's life because they see an enlightened master living just as you and I live, which looks pretty ordinary to you and I, but something within has completely changed. Well, the greatest spiritual story ever told, known as the Ashtavakra Gita, has an important verse which speaks to this. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Ashtavakra Gita, it is what is known as a Nididhyasana text, a text that one comes across on the cusp of enlightenment or beyond the pale of enlightenment. And I speak a lot on the channel about the Nididhyasana text, whether it be the Avadhuta Gita, the Ashtavakra Gita, or the Mandukya Upanishad Kataka. There are other Nididhyasana texts as well, but today I want to speak to you about this important verse on the nature of the Atman in action or inaction, and why we see enlightened masters behaving just like ordinary people. Fully realizing that nothing whatsoever is really done by the self, I do whatever presents itself to be done, and so I live happily. So here you'll see the word again, self in English with the capital S, which is alluding to the Atman, the undifferentiated consciousness at the heart of all of us, which is identical with the ultimate reality of Brahman. And so we have the self is not affected at all by doing, right, in this verse. Actually, it says nothing is really done at all by the self. Now, what does this really mean? So first, when we look at doing itself, right, who does something, right? It is the ego. It's the body-mind matrix, right? As Jason wants to do this, or Jason has a feeling or a desire based on his conditioning to do something. Likewise, you will feel the same. As a jiva, as a persona system, that is how we operate. The jiva is the one who wants to do something, right? It is affected and attached by what it does. But the Atman, the undifferentiated consciousness, is completely unattached. Also unattached from the body-mind matrix and the ego, right? It is unattached. It is undifferentiated. It is the ultimate oneness of existence. How could it be differentiated or attached to anything? It could not be, right? And so it is the jiva who is doing. It is the jiva who wants this and wants that, or sees the reality like this or that. The Atman doesn't see anything as this or that. It is beyond all. It is beyond all doing, beyond all conditioning. It is the ultimate reality. And so in this verse, Ashtavakra is saying that in being fully realized and abiding in the Atman, nothing ever really happens from that perspective. Life goes on, and I just do what is needed in that moment, what is asked of me in that moment, what life is presenting itself. I'm not actively going out to do something or to make someone think a certain way or this and that, because Ashtavakra in this sense is abiding in the Atman. And so as life happens, he just does what is needed and has no opinion and no perspective on what it should be. He's just doing what is needed in that moment. And as a result, he lives happily. Because obviously, if you are abiding in the Atman, you are connected with Ananda, unassociated bliss. Because you are not associated to anything, you are beaming with joy. It's only the jiva who's trying to extract bliss from the situations of life and what it is attracted to. It's trying to extract joy from that. Whereas the Atman is naturally blissful. That is the nature of existence itself. That is why when you see an enlightened master, they have a very blissful, content look in their face and in their eyes, because they're not actively conditioned nor associated with anything that they see, right? They just move about life freely and are completely liberated. And so the enlightened master is just moving through their life and just doing what is needed. Now, my question to you is, can you behave like that? Can you abide in that neutral state where your mind is not entangled with all of this complexity in life? Can you abide in the Atman and just allow life to be as it will? That's what this verse is saying, right? Ashtavakra is saying, can you allow life to be as it will? You will allow life to be as it will from the Atman when you abide in that. But when you're the Jiva, that's when we get annoyed. That's when we see things we want to change. That's when we don't like things about the world or don't like things about ourselves, right? But from the Atman, everything is shanti. Everything is peaceful. Nothing could affect you from that perspective. And that is what Ashtavakra is saying. Nothing is ever done from the Atman. All things are just occur and happen in the screen of consciousness. And the Atman just moves through life like a feather and is not affected by anything because it's the ultimate undifferentiated consciousness at the core of all of our being. And so from that state, as I said, that's when the true bliss arises. Not when we're trying to change the world, not when we're trying to change ourselves in some sense, but just from allowing life to be as it will, without having an opinion about how it should be or about ourselves, and without getting your mind involved with the world. Just allowing the world to be as it will, allowing yourselves to be as it will. And the more you abide in that state, the more you let go of this ego, this jiva that you believe you are. But that's all you've been conditioned to think you are. You've gone through the socialization process like myself and everyone else. We've all endured this, right? And then we develop this jiva, this ego that then sees the world as this or that, and we have an opinion on how it should be, and then our actions reflect our conditioning. Whereas from the Atman, nothing is done. Everything is taken care of from that perspective, and life will continue to happen, but you will not be affected by the ebb and flow of the social and cultural change of the world. Shanti, shanti, shanti.